Good morning, Judge Daffue.
Good morning, CJ. How are you?
I'm very well, thanks. How are you, sir?
I thank you. I must say I feel a bit like Minister Lamola and I would feel if we have to prepare for a cycle race. I understand he's a mountain biker himself. You know that you're fit, you know your bike is in order, but you never know what's going to happen tomorrow. Will the wind blow? Will there be a crash? So there may be a storm from the people in front of me. I don't know.
No, it is well. I just want to apologize to you and to apologize to the Honorable Judge President Musi and the Honorable MEC Kabate for a late start, even to the public. We had some business to take care of before now, and that would explain why we are late. We're really sorry.
I accept that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Judge Daffue, after many years as an advocate and senior counsel, you became a judge. For how long were you a judge? Have you been a judge?
Well, I'm now for 9 years and 3 months.
9 years and 3 months. And very briefly, why do you believe this position should be yours? Just brag a little bit, as briefly as you can.
Yeah, I don't know where to start. If you can give me perhaps 4 or 5 minutes, I just want to say that at the age of 22, I was admitted as an attorney, conveyancer, and notary public after part-time study. And I had to work during the day and study during the night. I passed all 3 of my professional examinations in my final year of study. And although I was hugely privileged as a white person, there's no doubt about that. I could go to 2 good schools and a good university. Many of us whites were still discriminated against in any event. There was the British-born people on the right-hand side, and there was the establishment of the English people on the other end. So as an attorney, we didn't get the opportunity to get work, or I, from the municipality. The work was allocated to one firm only. I didn't work for the big Afrikaans-speaking Afrikaans banks. And I also didn't work for the banks like Standard Bank, United Building Society on the left-hand side, because those were for the establishment from the left. So it was a struggle to go through that. And when I got to the bar, I must say that I got fantastic support from many law firms, and it went well. The state attorney didn't give me any work because the establishment was still the same. After 94, 95, things changed dramatically, and I got work. I shall deal with that if necessary when I get questions a bit more. But may I just say that throughout my life, I've done my best. I've tried to walk the extra mile. I regard myself as tenacious, even if I'm not I do not have all the talent in the world. I'll believe in hard work. And as a result thereof, you've seen from my application how many judgments of mine have been reported. I've calculated, the person that nominated me worked out that the SAFLI judgments were 230 or 260, I'm not sure. But there was a time in the Free State that our judgments were not sent to SAFLI due to administrative problems. So I'm sure that except for ex parte judgments, I've written more than 300 judgments, which, and some of them, as I've indicated, have been reported. The judgments in the South African law reports that's been reported, I've roughly counted it is 22% of all the judgments in the Free State Division. We are 14, 15 judges, from time to time 14, sometimes 15. And in the all SA law reports 40% of those judgments came from me. I wrote that the Oosthuizen-centric judgment, Judge Kashalia, on a unanimous judgment, confirmed that on appeal. And I dealt with the exclusionary clause in insurance contracts, and that judgment was then used by the SCA in this guard risk case with the COVID issues. And if I may say, the CUT judgment, which is written already in August 2012, that was 6 months after I went to the bench. The minister appealed. I gave him leave to appeal, but he did not proceed at that stage. They changed the act, which I thought was a bit of a feather in my cap. There are other judgments also. The one where I hear people refer to seminal judgments, where I closed the case for the accused, which was really a serious matter, because there were 17 accused, and I closed the case due to delays. And in terms of Section 342A, the SCA did refused or dismissed the appeal, and they went to the CEC, and the judgment was delivered sometime, was it in last year or the year before that, confirming my judgment, and confirming that I have taken the correct procedures, etc. That was the first judgment, as far as I'm concerned.
Can I interrupt you? I'm sure some colleagues would want to dig deep into your forensic skills. Just allow me to channel you.
Yes.
This is a leadership position. This is a managerial position that you are applying for. Can you, as briefly as possible, share with us what leadership, what managerial skills are you bringing into the Free State Division where you to be appointed? In other words, this is why I am able to lead. These are some of the things that could be done differently. This is how I'm going to support the judges and my leader, the judge president, and that explains why I'm the best or the right candidate for the position.
Yes.
Very briefly.
Thank you, CJ. Obviously, the judge president is here, and I've got to be careful that I do not make negative comments. No, I'm just joking. The point is there are a few things. I've done a MBA on a few years ago, and specifically my dissertation dealt with cultural differences. In that case, it was between Afrikaans and English speaking. You can't believe that you get problems there. I've learned to deal with people of all creeds, color, races. I know how to deal with people of different nationalities, of different races. So in that sense, it's easy for me to understand the way that people think and to support them. For me, a leader is most of all a person that just does not talk only, but do the work. And I'm sure that my colleagues will understand that in that instance, I excel, and I'm an example to follow. I have, for example, drafted numerous draft orders some 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, in order to show my colleagues how they should deal with matters, especially in the unopposed motion court, because I came to understand that the attorneys and advocates were sometimes not 100% informed as to how the relief should look like. I know that in Gauteng, the two divisions, Gauteng North and South, they've got practice directors. We don't have. In the 1980s, our judge president drafted draft orders for us to use. I felt that is very important. I circulated that to our, and I did that without getting the consent from the JP first, but I said to him that I'm going to send it to the colleagues. they can consider it, we can consider it, and then if we're satisfied, we can either put it in practice directives or we can just see to it that it's distributed to the legal representatives. I know that some of my colleagues make use of that. I think it's a valuable tool, and that's in one instance. Then as IT and finance chairperson, I have dealt with numerous reports. The SNT allowance that they've increased for us judges now, I understand that Judge Dennis Davis has drafted a similar document. We were basically about the same as to what amount the amount should be changed, and that's been approved now. When I was introduced to the bench, my welcoming speech on the bench, I said the following, and that was my view when I was an advocate: where are the black faces in our even unopposed motion courts? We must make something about this. We must get the people to get the feeling that they can appear and that they've got confidence. And at that stage already, I initiated an issue with, and I got my colleagues Lakale and Rampai, and we approached BLA and we said to them, that is what we want to do. We're prepared to help you once a month on a Saturday. We'll give you lectures. You just get the venue, etc. Then they approached Nadal. Nadal approached them, and the two bodies couldn't really cope. They couldn't come to an agreement. A few years later, Nadal contacted me, and I gave them my first lecture. We did it with my BLA also last year, the year before that. I'm supposed to give a lecture on Saturday again. That's part of my way of thinking of trying to get the legal practitioners to improve their skills. I'm always trying to deliver or transfer my skills. I was dealing with the regional court managers as I gave a lecture to them also. JP and I have discussed this many times, but I said to him every time, I don't want to be seen as the head boy in our division, but we should really, as judges, come together more regularly. Sajay does a fantastic job, but for us to transfer skills, I can learn from somebody else and people can learn from me. Unfortunately, we haven't done that, and that's something that I'd like to do. The other issue is the Rule 37 procedure, which I think is not utilized properly. We can improve on that. Not without, I don't want to criticize anybody, but I think we can improve. And the last issue is, I came here with 2 files, and that is not how I normally work, because I am an advocate for paperless society. I've been taught about case lines. You do it in the Cape, the Gauteng judges are utilizing that in Gauteng. And my view is that we should do that and get that in as soon as possible. The only problem is we don't have Wi-Fi. They're busy installing it. We don't have it. The moment that's properly installed, I'll see to it, if my JP gives me the green light, that it be done. And I'm prepared to assist my colleagues and to help them with that regard. So I think that I can bring a lot to assist the JP in order to take a lot of his duties away from him so that he can carry on a more important work.
Thank you, Judge Daffue. Judge President Musi.
Thank you, CJ. Judge Daffue, you've acted as the Deputy Judge President in the province. That's correct?
That's correct.
For how long?
For 3.5 terms.
You have also made yourself available now for the SCA. You were on the long list, not on the short list. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Why?
JP, I discussed this with you. My intention was obviously all the time to apply for the DJP post, but then when the list came out, I saw that there were 5 vacancies advertised in the SCA. And I thought and must go back, is when I was still a student working at night in the library when my friends are only having their parties. I read those judgments of the appeal court then, and I thought to myself, that is my ultimate goal. I've relinquished my sporting career. I must go and sit in the appeal court then, and that's how I felt, and I thought maybe this is a chance to put up my hand and see whether I cannot get some sort of recognition.
And that flame has not yet been totally extinguished.
Yeah, no, obviously, uh, I'm a loyal person. If I get the post as Deputy Judge President, I've got 6 years left in my career. I would probably not apply to for a post at the SCA because I would feel that my job is in Bloemfontein, at the High Court in Bloemfontein. I would rather stick there instead of trying to use that as a stepping stone to the SCA.
And then just lastly, you, as a general rule, never have preserved judgments for longer than a month. Most of your judgments are written very promptly.
That's correct, yes.
Thank you, CJ.
Thank you, JP. MEC?
No, thank you very much, CJ. I would like to pose a question to Judge Daffue. I believe, Judge Daffue, that you are supposed to play a transformation role within the country. As a person who, when you spoke here, you said you know the pinch also. But I just want to maybe to understand from you, me being MEC Social Development, what do you call this, the secure centers being under the guideship of social development. Why is it that when judgments are made on minors, we see only Black children be taken to secure centers and the white children are referred to the care under their parents? Why are we having that disparity within the Free State?
MEC, it's difficult for me to say that or to answer to that because, you know, some of those matters are normally being dealt with in the children's court, most of them. So, you know, they don't get to the High Court. But just on that point, just to refer you to the matter that JP knows about the lady that and the brother that were destitute and lying around in the streets of Bloemfontein 2 years ago. She wanted to appeal to the SCA, and if you remember correctly, she tried to institute action against your department for claiming millions of rands. She was, and when I found out that her brother didn't have a place to stay, I arranged immediately with you people through the state attorney that he be taken to a children's shelter. And she was also taken at my request to a place where she stayed for a few days, but then she walked away there. She didn't want to deal with their procedures and eat at the right times, etc. So my view is always the vulnerable people in our community, the children are very relevant to me, and I will always do my best to make sure that they are properly catered for. In this case, I didn't have to do that, but I did that. Application wasn't urgent, but the issue of the child was an aspect that was like dealt with on the baseline of the sideline, so to speak. And I used that to say, I'm going to listen to this lady on an urgent basis, and I dealt with it. And I must say, with the cooperation of the state attorney, the department did well to deal with that. That child was eventually taken by the family after the children court hearing. The real family got hold of the child, and they were given foster care of the child.
SJ, I was asking the question because I can see that you once dealt with a case of a child, but also I thought that as senior management, you maybe do sit and look at this thing so that we shouldn't treat people unfairly. It is really unfair that when we go to the secure centers, we are having 3 secure centers in the Free State.
Yeah.
And all of them, if you visit them, it's only, you can't be told that it's only black children who are supposed to be diverted to secure centers, but others are diverted to their homes.
Yes, I hear what you say is, and again, that is children's court, but it is perhaps something that we, and it's the first time that I hear that we can deal with that as management in the High Court, because the JP is entitled to in the normal meetings with all the role players to deal with issues like that, and I'm sure that that could be looked after and looked into.
Thank you.
Thank you, MEC. Colleagues, may I just have the names of those who would want to put questions to Judge Daffue, if any?
Nyambi,
Matonsela.
Tshepe.
Barnard,
Magwanisha. Lucas.
Wait a minute, please. There was something just before Commissioner Sigogo. There was somebody, Honorable Magwanisha, and then somebody, and then Commissioner Sigogo. Who was that?
Lucas, I said.
Is it Honorable Lucas? Yes. All right. Honorable Nyambi? Okay, JP. Okay, JP.
Thank you, CJ.
Thank you, sir. Honorable Nyambi?
Thank you, CJ. Morning, Judge.
Good morning, sir.
As a person that has acted in the position you've applied for and you are currently a judge there, if you can share with us the current immediate challenges facing that division.
Well, COVID was a factor. Our division normally, we are according to the NPA statistics, normally number 1 and number 2 in the country of all the divisions. According to the latest evaluation, we lagged a bit. We met all our standards, but the one thing that we didn't meet was about criminal cases that couldn't be finalized. Those are serious issues. I was involved in 2 where COVID, the people, the advocate in the one case and the attorney got involved. In the other case, in the one case, 2 weeks after each other, and in the other case where the main witness couldn't get from Gauteng to Sasolburg because of the COVID regulations. So that's a problem. Otherwise, I must say that we're a happy family in the Free State. I hear what people say about the ACA. We are colleagues and we are friends, and I think it goes well in our province. Yes, I've mentioned the issue of Rule 37. I think that sometimes Rule 37, I was there to get civil cases finished earlier or finalized earlier. Unfortunately, sometimes it happens that because of the different way that different colleagues work with it, the matters are taking longer than they should have taken before they trial ready. But that's a thing that we can sort out, and I promise that if I can get the job, that I will do to make sure that that be attended to. I cannot, off the cuff, think of anything else. We are obviously. The other thing is internet. We have a problem with that. The internet goes off frequently, but then we'll have to think that all the judges must get routers, and so that we can keep on the internet or the Wi-Fi all the time. Yes, it is so that there's the budget is gone. We can't get hard copies anymore. We've got to more and more rely on soft copies on a digital format, and that is a thing that might cause problems to some of our judges, but that's something that you can learn. You can help carry on with it. But I'm satisfied that it goes well there.
A single quality of DJP that you think you possess that you can offer if you can be given an opportunity for that position?
For me, it is dedication, hard work, long hours, being an example to my colleagues, open door policy, assist them, learn from them, but also transfer skills to them. That's my attitude.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you, CJ.
Thank you, Honorable Nyambi. Commissioner Madonsela.
Thank you, Chief Justice. Good morning, Judge Daffue.
Good morning, Commissioner.
Maybe the question I'm going to ask is linked to the one that was asked by Commissioner Nyambi. Can you list 3 duties of a deputy judge president? And tell me why you are the most suitable person to execute any of them.
You see, Commissioner, thank you. With my little background, and I'm not a legal labor law specialist. I did a lot of labor work at my time. But the first day that I went into the office after, when I had to start my first stint as acting deputy JP, I went to the JP and I said to him, "Where's my job description?" Every employee must have a job description. And I'm sure that there's no job description for DJPs. He said to me, "There's none, but don't worry. Whenever I need your assistance, I'll see to it that you do what I want from you." And in that case, with the previous judge presidents, I numerous times did speeches at various institutions on their behalf. Whenever the roles have to be finalized or drafted, I'll be called and say, "Well, listen, you've got to do it." And then we do it. But I think it's a bit informal. It's not as formalized as in a big division. Because as I said, we are working so closely together. My office is next to his or very close to his. So, it's easy for him to phone me or come around and say, "Well, listen, I want you to do that." So there's no job description, and as far as I'm concerned, there are no 3 tasks that I can offer to you. Safe to say to you is that he wants me to go to and deal with the court roles for the next week, for example, or for the next term. I'll take the day or the night or the weekend and I'll do it for him. And if I need to assist with attendance of magistrates, for example, I have to see them or other stakeholders and have meetings, the term meetings that they normally have, and you can't do it, then I haven't done one of that, I must say, but then I will do that. We've got a system there where the JP meets all the advocates and the attorneys and the police and the correctional services and all that at a meeting where everybody can come up with their queries and matters are dealt with in order to make sure that our court system is effective.
Okay, well, if you don't have any identified duties there, let's leave it at that. Can I just ask another question? Do you see yourself one day as the JP of the Free State, or do you have any aspirations to one day become the JP of that division?
Commissioner, I have thought about that, and let me be honest with you. I've on 2 occasions said to my JP that's before the nominations or before the applications came out when I was still acting, because he said to us, "I'll let you act, but then you must promise that you will apply for the post if it's advertised." And at 2 occasions I said to him, "JP, you know what? Maybe I should not apply. This post is for a woman." Women, I've supported women all my life. My wife was a prosecutor and a magistrate. I understand the plight of women. My view is that for the deputy judge president post, I'm the right person at the right time. Yes, people might say, "But how can you have 2 males there?" People might say, "But there are not enough women in leadership positions." I'm of the view that I'm the more senior of the 3 of us, by far, in respect of the one candidate. But I still believe that somebody like my colleague Mbele, and we are all close, we close, she will one day become the JP of our division. But for my view is for leapfrogging her now over me, it's for the commission to decide upon that. My view is that she'll get her time. She's 5 years there. She needs extra time. Many of the judges are seniors, and if they're not the seniors, are much older than what she is. And so I do not see myself. I've got six years left. I do not see myself necessarily to become the JP, especially if I've got to compete with any of the other two ladies that are there with me, especially Judge Mbele, who is a younger person. My twin sister and I we're the same age. So I can understand that somebody like Judge Mbele will one day get, a higher position.
Thank you, Chief Justice. I have no questions.
Just a follow-up, CJ. I know
Thank
Judge,
you, Council.
I know the president
Yes, Honorable
to
Malema.
fight with me. Are you,
I'm leaving the follow-up to Malema. I didn't want to take all my time.
what are you applying for? You are applying for a position without responsibility. Is that what you are telling this forum? Because you are asked, mention 3 responsibilities of DJP. What are those? Or you just want to have the glory without any responsibility? What are the responsibilities of the DJP?
Mr. Malema, there's no job description, and if there's one, then it hasn't been given to me. The DJP in our division has always been there to assist the JP whenever it is necessary. And whatever the JP has to do and he cannot do, he will allocate to whoever is his Deputy Judge President. And as I've said, I'll walk the extra mile for him every day.
It's fine, CJ, it's his answer.
It may help you, my question may help you, Judge Daffue. What are the responsibilities of the JP, very briefly, that you see yourself contributing towards their better performance as a deputy?
Well, the Judge President must run the division. He must steer the ship. That ship must be getting out of the harbor and not in the harbor all the time. It must be in the open sea. He must make sure that his judges do their job, that they are there when they've got to hear cases, that they are not running around and not doing their work, that their judgments are being delivered as soon as possible. And he checks that. We've got a system there in our court where on a weekly basis, every Tuesday, we get the cases that have been heard the previous week, plus all the others where the judgments have been reserved and not been issued yet. And that he must do. My view is that we can do better in that case because there are judgments that are too long outstanding in my view. And if I'm the Deputy Judge President, I'll make sure that I take hands with my JP to make sure that judgments that are outstanding for longer than 3 months, that it should not be done. There's no reason for that. And unfortunately, there are a number of judgments outstanding longer than that. That's an aspect that's got to be dealt with. The JP must make sure that his judges are well informed of all new developments, and he must also make sure that there's a proper understanding by the public, that we know that the public must not feel that they cannot utilize their right in terms of Section 34. They want to have access to the courts and they want proper access. And court roles must be dealt with on the basis that we've got to deal with our matters, urgent matters like in appeals or so. Finish the matters when they should be finished. Get the matters on the roll as soon as possible so that justice can be seen to be done. And that's a general management situation of the judge president.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Tsepe?
Thank you, CJ. Good morning, Judge.
Good morning.
Having acted as a DJP, I wanted to find out from you, are there any challenges in your division regarding allocation of work to judges for their optimum exposure? And if there are, what systems or process do you have or suggest you want to propose to deal with any of those challenges? And if there are no systems, what systems would you propose in order to do so?
Well, we've always had a system that, for example, if a matter is allocated to a judge and his matter gets settled, that he or she immediately informs the judge president, or if he's not available, the deputy judge president, so that other matters can be allocated to that judge. It often happens that one of his or her colleagues may have 2 or 3 matters and all 3 needs to go and run at the same time. And it's impossible. So then you know that you can handle and you can take the one matter and give it to the judge whose matter has been settled, so that you don't sit with the one judge being in a situation that he gets nervous or she gets nervous and say, how am I going to finish this? You take the work away and give it to the one that's lucky for that his or her matter has been settled. And what we also do is we make sure that everybody doesn't get every week appeals. We make sure that people are not getting all the appeals during a term, and whilst others do not get any appeals whatsoever. And same with the post motions, that kind of thing. So we try to distribute the work evenly between, and there's an open policy. If somebody feels that he's getting too much work, he or she comes to the JP and says, well, you know, I've received 20 reviews the previous week, and I hear my colleagues haven't done anything for the last 2 weeks, or whatever the case may be.
Thank you. Thank you, Judge. My next question, you dealt with some aspects of it, and it is about timeless delivery of judgments. And as you know, that is one of the key things to be able to deliver justice to the public, to ensure that we deliver judgments timelessly. What interventions would you propose to capacitate judges to meet expectations in this regard?
Well, you know, there was a day that one of our judges, and I mean, I wasn't even deputy judge president at the time or acting, had a problem, a huge problem with outstanding judgments. And I took it on myself, and I offered my work, my presence to her. And I said, I can't write your judgments for you, but what I can do is we can look at your files and see which of these are more important than the others, and try and get a structure for you so you can get them out. You can't sit with 20 judgments. You're not going to know where to start and where to end. Luckily, it wasn't necessary with COVID. I think the judge perhaps had more time and finished some of the work. But that's my view, and that's what I would do as a deputy judge president. I can't write anybody's judgments for him if I'm not involved in the matter, but I can use my empathy, I can use my attitude, my compassion for my colleagues, to go and sit on a Saturday or Sunday and say, well, let me see what is your problem. Let us try and see whether we cannot get this judgment out for you.
Chief Justice, I promise you, this is the first time I have a follow-up on a question.
It is true. It is true. Go ahead, Commissioner.
Thank you. Judge, the issue I just wanted to raise is, I don't think it's sustainable for you to go to one judge at a time who's having a difficulty like you have suggested, which is why my question was, what are the intervention, meaning systems that we put in place to ensure that that happens, the timeless delivery of judgments happen as a matter of course?
Now you see, but excuse me, you see what happens is that is we get a list, all of us, the list is distributed to all of us. So I can see, and I don't have lists here, and I can show you at any given time how many judgments are outstanding in which matters for all my judges. So I can tell you this judgment is outstanding for 6 months or 182 days. This one is 170 days. This judge is 100, and I know other cases, and I don't know anything about that. So my view is, but I can't do it as a normal, as a judge normally. If you've got the authority of the judge president or acting on his behalf, you could see to it. If this judgment goes over 30 days and say, well, red flags are beginning to, to surface here, and speak to the judge. And when it goes to 60 days, see whether you cannot intervene and help 90 days. But 90 days is basically a limit we should not go past unless there's exceptional circumstances.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you, CJ.
Thank you, Commissioner Tsepe. Commissioner Matolo Depu.
Thank you, CJ, and good morning, Judge.
Morning.
Judge, when it comes to issues of transformation, I'm one person who wants people to talk about it, having proof that they have done it. In page 10 of your submission or your questionnaire, you speak about having empowered Black pupils and students, all that those nice words. But one of the things I have a problem with is that you took Silk in 2009, and during that time, there were 2 advocates, Black advocates, women advocates, who had to leave the bar because they were not supported. And you were a member of that bar council.
Yes, I said that in my previous interview, and I'll say it again. And I know that after my previous interview, some of my colleagues at the bar who were cross with me, they were having all sorts of arguments about this whole thing. I've got, I don't have it here. I had the previous time my circulars that I sent out on a monthly basis to my colleagues. It was when I got appointed. I only got appointed as a chairperson in April 2010. But from my date of appointment, and before that when I was in the bar, my view is that we've got to look at the juniors. We've got to make sure that, say for the first year or 2 years, they don't pay any bar fees, and to assist them with it. I even drafted the maternity policy, and 2 women in my bar decided that that policy should not be taken further, where we said that women, for example, during their pregnancy should not pay bar fees, and they should be assisted financially. With the Black advocates specifically, I was the one that we were less than a handful that had a buddy policy that we used, which came from the GCP. GCP said you may not share fees with, well, that's the advocates rule, you may not share fees with another advocate, but to assist Black juniors and females, they came up with a scheme where you work on a buddy system. You act as an advocate, even if you're not a senior advocate, but if there's not necessary for 2 advocates, then you can ask your attorney for that a buddy or that somebody comes and helps you with a case. He doesn't have to have too much knowledge about the case, but just to get the experience. Then you as the advocate, the senior, present an invoice for your normal fees. And we forfeited 30% of our fees to our buddies, our Black and female buddies. And I think the one lady that you're referring to, if you ask her, she'll tell you that I took her on as not on that system, as a normal junior, and she made a lot of money in that one case only. So I tried my best to ensure that the Black juniors are cared for. And and I can tell you, one of those guys and I'm not going to mention his name unless you want that I used to on the buddy system, he's now a senior advocate at that bar. And whilst on that topic, let me just say you the following. There's another advocate there. Mr. Mpofu will know that the bar had an issue in the past. If you're a pupil and you don't pass your written examination, end of story, you start over the next year again. This person failed his written examination. Black person. I said to the GCB, I was not the chairperson at that stage, I was just dealing with the training. Please, people, you want the Free State Bar to transform. This guy is a good candidate. You make an exception this year. Let that guy pass his, let that guy go for his orals. I promise you that he'll pass that. They allowed that. It's the first time in history. And I don't think they've ever done it afterwards. We had a problem. He didn't understand one question correctly and he missed it and he failed the written examination. That guy is doing well at the bar. And it is, I don't want to say it's because of me, but I can tell you, he wouldn't have the money to come back for a second year.
Okay, thank you. Just a follow-up. I'm a bit bothered by your paragraph 18. And whilst you are explaining to the commission, you are talking about one guy, that guy who made money because he made a lot of money. Basically, for me, your paragraph 18 and say that you have empowered a lot of blacks. It's a lie.
Where are you now?
Page 18.
I'm
Page 18 of the questionnaire.
no, paragraph 18.
I mean, page 10, paragraph 18.
You refer to a lot of.
Yes.
Where do you read that? I said I actively tried to recruit black legal professionals for the active advocates profession by contacting local university and law firms. I was for many years involved in training of pupils and supported the buddy system where black and female juniors obtained exposure. I never said that there were many of them. I just make that as a general remark.
Yes, that's the problem I have. People making general remarks as if they are transforming the profession.
Commissioner, if you go out here, you find any of the black advocates at the bar, Mr. Motlong, Mr. Mene, Mr. Marabi, were there in my time, and you ask them what this guy did for black advocates at the bar. Just do that. You don't want to accept what I tell you.
Okay, the very last question, CJ. I'm like Commissioner, etc. I never ask a lot of questions. The last question. I'm talking out of knowledge, Judge. I've done a survey of the Free State. In case you don't know.
You don't? You did it?
I've done a survey of the Free State and how black practitioners are faring. In case you don't know, I'm the chairperson of the Legal Practice Council. And those are the things that we are finding in the Free State. And you want me to believe that you will lead that division.
Well, are you talking of the legal practitioners?
Advocates are legal
Yeah.
practitioners.
Now, let me put you this way. First of all, I cannot speak for what happened after I left, but what I know is that even after I left, I was called basically every year by the pupillage committee to assist black advocates, well, all the pupils in doing their orals and court skills and so on an annual basis. And it is true that it's difficult to make a living at the bar if you don't have contacts. And that's why I said in my speech, and I'll quote it for you, the speech that I gave as a judge, my first speech in the motion court where everybody was sitting, I said, I've asked how many times for attorneys, because the attorneys give the jobs to the advocates. They can't go and get the jobs themselves. The attorneys must instruct the advocates. And the attorneys must get authority from their clients to do that. So if you want to complain about that issue, you've got to go to the ABSA banks and the net banks and the ESCOMs and those people and say, why don't you tell your attorneys to give work to Mr. A, B, or C? And I've said, and I repeat it, there are too many black faces appearing in the court, in the High Court, and I have advocated many years that this must change. And the only way that that can change is the people get exposure, and they can only get exposure if they get instructions and assistance from seniors or whatever the case may be. But the attorneys must instruct them. I've how many times said, why must if there's, for example, a black woman or a man in the divorce court, why must a white junior go and do that divorce case? Why can't they instruct one of the black juniors to do that? You know, I've done a lot to try and influence people, but I'm not the attorney that give the instructions to the advocates.
Thank you, CJ.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Barnard.
Follow up, CJ.
Thank you, Chief Justice.
Apparently, there's a follow-up. I'm sorry to do this to you, Commissioner Barnard. Apparently, there's a follow-up from Commissioner Sigogo. Yes, go ahead, sir.
Thank you. I would want you to clarify this issue when you say you could not understand why a white advocate will come to court and do divorce matter when there's a black or a woman advocate. I do not want to understand you to say that is the work which is suited for black practitioners and women practitioners. I want you to clarify that.
No, not at all. You know, when I went to the bar, I was, as a junior advocate, received many unopposed motions. In fact, my first 2 years, I didn't even do high court trials in the high court. I made money from the unopposed motion court. And you get 10 or 15 or 20 cases in the unopposed motion court. And many of that in those days were divorce matters because, you know, all the divorce matters were, most of them were dealt with in the high court. And it was basically easy money to appear in unopposed matters for a relatively young junior person that, you know, there's not a lot of intricate work involved. And I'm not degrading the juniors to say, but they should take the work of that. I did, all that I try to say is I'm using that as an example. Here comes the lady, she's Sesotho speaking. She insists that she wants to speak Sesotho in court. We get an interpreter. Why must they are in the bar, in the advocates' chambers? Why must that poor lady now speak English or Afrikaans to the advocate just to go to court and do that in Sesotho in her home language? It is preferable. In my view, it is so easy to say, well, she's Sesotho speaking. There are 3 or 4 Sesotho juniors here in the bar. Give the instructions to one of them, not because they can only do the work of black clients. That's not what I try to say. I say that the motion court is an easy way for young people to get, you know, experience and get some comfort and, you know, so they can later on do opposed matters.
Thank you, CJ.
Thank you, sir. Honorable Magwanisha.
CJ, was it not Honorable Barnard?
Cancelled him for some reason. I'm sorry, Honorable Barnard. You are all honorable, by the way. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, CJ. Thank you, Mr. Commissioner Sigogo. But it was good that that follow-up went first. You've been an attorney judge and you've been an advocate, I think an attorney for about 12 years and an advocate for 22 years. So you, to a certain extent, understand the profession. I also see that you've got a business administration qualification added to the 3 law degrees. How do you think that would be able to assist in the DJP function?
Well, you know, when I looked at my law book, not my law books, when I looked at my textbooks again in respect of the business administration course, I knew there was such a book, and I got it. The one was specifically about managing change. and specifically about cultural issues. And that's why when I address the LPC, I make the point that especially the advocates must accept change. You must accept that you're under a new environment now. It's all for the better, for transformation, for transparency, etc. And I believe that I'm fully equipped to deal with those issues. Just as a matter of interest, I do not profess to speak Sesotho, not fluently and not at all, but I know a lot of phrases. I can help myself in a shop or in a garage or in my garden or wherever, and there's not a problem to me. I think that I think we are 36% white people at our bench now. We've got to, for example, get to a system where we can get to know the other people's language, or languages, because there are Sotho, Xhosa, and Zulu speakers. So to see that we cannot, if you speak to somebody in his own language, you speak to his heart. That if I speak to the security guards at court, you see the smiles, you just see teeth. We've got to get that, and at the moment you do that, there will be more trust. Surely we don't have a problem with trust there with us, but I think we can be a better family, and it will help with a lot of other things if we can get closer to each other. And that MBA must say helped me a lot. For example, time management. How do you deal with that? How do you put in principles to make sure that better principles, that judgments are perhaps still delivered faster than we want at this stage or we expect at this stage?
Thank you, Judge. Thank you, Chief Justice.
Thank you, Commissioner Barnett. Honorable Magwanisha.
Thank you very much, Chief Justice. Good morning, Judge.
Good morning, Commissioner.
I've listened to Commissioner Tsebe and Commissioner Malema and Commissioner Barnett.
I don't think President Maya will hear you, Honorable Magwanisha.
Oh.
I think you're too soft-spoken.
My apologies, Chief Justice. I was saying that I've listened to Commissioner Tsebe, Commissioner Malema, and Commissioner Barnett. I think what we are struggling to get out of you is what is your management or leadership philosophy? And I think it's very difficult to get that out of you. I do think that your MBA at Buckinghamshire, which is now Menkosa, focused a lot on strategy, on management information systems. And how have you used those courses to assist the judge president? It's not coming out.
Yeah. Well, strategy-wise, the issue is we are there to serve the public. The public is our client. So we've got to make sure that the public gets the best service that it can. And as I said at this stage, it goes well in our division, but we can always improve. And in my view is that you can improve it by making sure that your judgments are getting out earlier, and that there are better communication pertaining to, for example, the attorneys and the advocates and ourselves relating to the trials that are being pre-trial minutes that's got to be, or pre-trial procedures that could be finalized. So for me, the whole idea is to manage or help assist with the management of a system that is well working. You don't have to change something that is working well. And that's how I see it. But I've indicated the few aspects that I feel that we should look at and deal with it. And I'm not going to go through that again, but I mean, those are aspects that, and what I did was as leader of the bar, I arranged that instead of having your normal monthly meetings, for example, I had a letter that I sent out regularly where I deal with all issues and asking feedback from people. So everybody knew what was the issues, what were the issues there, and getting the feedback. For example, what I said about skills transfer, the one case that, and that's my view, is that you've got to, if there's a new act promulgated or there's a new judgment of the CC or the SCA, all the judges don't get that all the time immediately. The judgment of President Maya, which was delivered on the 30th of September 2019, I know that well because I had an urgent application just after that about the validity of a customary marriage. I can't recall the name now, but I saw that on my computer when it was delivered, and about 3 weeks thereafter, there was an urgent application about a funeral. And the one guy stood up for the applicant, and he was relying on Justice Molamela's judgment. And I knew that I saw something, but I haven't read that judgment at that stage. And I said, I'm going to adjourn for a few minutes. And the young advocate, black advocate on the other side for the respondent, took his time. He took his cell phone. He came into court whilst I was looking at my computer in my office. And he said, Judge, the SCA has just given a judgment 3 weeks ago. I'm right. This application must be dismissed. And he read it from his cell phone from Google or from Safely. And I said to him, well, that's the one that I also read. The point is at that stage, some of my colleagues didn't even know about the judgment. So you get to court, there are two advocates in front of you that know nothing, or not know nothing, but it's an urgent matter. They don't have time to research. And they perhaps put you on the wrong track. And this young guy helped me tremendously. The matter was dealt with. And all that I say is part of my management would be to make sure that my colleagues are all the time, as best as possible, equipped for their task. And that I can do through, as I've said, meetings with them, skill transfers, making sure, even on WebEx or on Microsoft Teams, make sure that everybody understands what the position, the legal position is on a regular basis. And what our problems is pertaining to practical things, people taking chances by getting judgments or orders from the motion court that they should not get, because you get some of those guys that try to influence people to get judgments that they should not get.
My last question, CJ. Part of the challenge that is there globally is that most judicial officers suffer from burnout, and there is a need for wellness program. Have you thought about it? And if you have, what is your view around a wellness program for judges in your division?
Thank you, Commissioner. We've been, the JP and myself and some of the, I can't recall whether the other colleague was at a conference in Cape Town in 2017 where this specifically was dealt with, and people from Australia came and talked to us. And I know that the JP himself has written commentaries on this. There is in the pipeline, I'm not sure how far they are with that, but the moment that I would be appointed, I would make sure, because I feel because I'm part of the women, the Women's Association also, and I understand women, and I understand that women sometimes more prone to emotional issues where they see stab wounds and they see people really being shot and killed and whatever. I get that. People come to me. They say to me that they feel it's difficult for them. So there's definitely a way, or there's definitely a solution to be adopted in that regard. And as I said, it's not in the Free State where this wellness program should be addressed also, but it's a national program where, for example, you'd be able to call in a centrum and in the center and speak to a psychologist, and if need to be sent to somebody else. And as far as I know, that Paramet, the medical fund, would fund that on certain conditions. So that is definitely an aspect to be dealt with. And in fact, I participated in at least two breakfasts that were held by the women pertaining to wellness. So I'm fully I'm sensitive to that. And if I say that people are, it's not only women. I mean, men also, you know, it's difficult for them to face all these stab wounds on a body. But my view is that men perhaps, and that's a generalization, can, you know, can shut the eyes and get it over and out. But all of us must be aware that we can get to a situation where it really gets, you know, that you do too much work and that you can get burnout.
Thank you very much, Judge. Thank you very much, Chief Justice.
Thank you, Honorable Magwanishe. Judge Daffue, are you aware that your JP has for over a year now been charged with the responsibility to develop a judicial welfare program for the entire judiciary? And he has been hard at work interacting with psychologists and all manner of aspects. Are you aware or unaware?
I'm aware of that, CJ. That's why I said that I knew that I saw, I already saw documents coming from him. I'm not sure whether I've seen a final program, but surely I'm aware of the fact. That's why I say that he interacted closely with the people from Australia and with Dr. I think Seth Cooper. So I'm aware that such a process is ongoing, and hopefully that will be finalized, that we can, you know, that the people can benefit from that.
Honorable Lucas.
Thank you, Chief Justice. Good morning, Judge.
Good morning.
Daffue.
Good morning, ma'am.
I'm just afraid Chief Justice will say I like to use long introductions, but Judge Daffue, there is one thing that I want to say to you. When we are interviewing you, you are potentially the second in charge in the Free State Division. So we are speaking now to the leader of the pack. And that is why I think sometimes communication is something that is very important. So that we can get a clear message as to what is it that as a leader in that division you will do and what you will bring about. So I think I'm mostly covered, but I'm not satisfied with the responses that you are giving because you are not really elaborating. So just in general, what is it that you think transformation is? If you can respond that and I can feel satisfied, I will be satisfied with your responses.
Transformation. Excuse me.
No, it's still here, CJ.
Transformation, you find on different levels. I mean, you can get transformation pertaining to the imbalances in our legal community, for example, where you need to make sure that in terms of gender equality, as Women League stands for, that you get more representation on the bench. Surely that is a very important factor. So as JP, you will ensure that you communicate with the LPC and their members and make sure that people are identified that with a bit of support can start to act in the division. And that's what I say. It's important that you consider actively measures where you can speak to those bodies and say, well, you've got a very good advocate there, but she's been there for 5 years or 7 years and she's just doing motor vehicle accident cases. Give her other work. Make sure that she comes with and deal with other matters so that she can get a variety of experience. So that's one aspect of the work of a JP, is to make sure that proper candidates are identified, not even candidates, proper persons are identified to be enable them that they can get candidates. That's important, and that's not only women. That will deal with everybody, that will help to make sure that there is a transformation in the community. Now, can I just say that in the legal community, can I just say is that I've looked at all the stats or all the figures, and I think if you look at section 174 of the Constitution, and you'll see that the issue of that the how to deal with the appointment of people. You will remember that when the Constitution was promulgated, there were about 100% white people and 0 black people. And there were perhaps 1 or 2% white females, if there were at a stage, but I'm not sure then, and 99% males. So we've come a long way from there to where we now. If I refer to you to the Free State, we are 36% whites at this stage of the total there. I've looked at some of the other provinces, Northern Cape, Northwest, and some of them. There are no white people there at that stage. So we've come a long way, but gender equality must always be dealt with, and surely transformation pertaining to black people cannot just be forgotten. So that's an issue to be dealt with there. And then obviously, once the people are appointed as an acting positions, make sure that you do as JP, and then the deputy JP, that you assist the people fully. Don't just give them the work and say, go and finish them, so that you can assist and try and transfer skills all the time during that acting stint, so that that person can get used to the work and eventually be appointed on a full-time basis.
Baie dankie, Judge Daffue. Ek is doodseker jy sal met my saamstem. Die belangrikste is hoe jy die mense ontwikkel om in staat te kan wees om die beste te lewer.
Commissioner, that is so, and I'll address you in English rather, because it's one of the issues pertaining to cultural matters. You don't speak a language that other people can't understand.
No, we do. We've got 11 languages, so ons praat al die tale hierso.
But what I want to say to you is that if somebody was asking, I didn't watch the interviews, but somebody asked one of the interviewees yesterday, and I've per chance looked at that. Why are there no female litigators? Now, I can tell you why. Litigation is for tough people. They want to fight. They want to fight. My wife was one of them. They want to fight. Many male persons decide to do estate work and conveyancing because they don't want to fight. And the same with women. Many women would get there. I mean, I've seen from my time at school and after that, the women were always better than us. They got the distinctions, and they were smart, but they didn't get opportunities. And what would they do is they would go and work for Standard Bank or for Centlec or wherever, and or do conveyancing at a firm. But let us be honest. For us that have been in a court, it is tough. It is, and I know the point is that you've got to go back to your children. You've got to look after them. It's not easy for women, and I understand that. It's a difficult thing for a woman to stand out in a court of law. But we must grow them. Hulle moet opgroei van hulle waarste daar af. They've got to be molded. And the only way you can do that is to transfer skills and to give experience. And that's it.
Baie dankie, Justice Daffue. Thank you very much, Chief Justice.
Thank you, Honorable Lucas. Commissioner Sigogo.
Thank you.
May I also add my name, please? I got distracted when you were calling for the list.
Okay, President.
Thank you. I hope someone will do follow up on what the judge ended up at. Otherwise, it may take my time. I've checked your questionnaire and your CV, and I saw your leadership role that you have played, other than the one of acting DJP, as a chairperson of the Society of Advocates, a chairperson of Finance and IT Committee of the Free State Judiciary that is in court, and lastly, as chairperson of Free State Cheaters Disciplinary Committee. Are these the only roles that you played as in a leadership role?
Well, if you're a partner in a law firm, you're a leader. You cannot be a leader if you're not a partner in a law firm. But I was also the chairperson of, and let me just add that, I don't know whether it's somewhere. I was the chairperson of the Great College UCB before all the rigmarole started now. But long ago, I finished my stint in 27. And as chair, sorry, not chairperson of the GCB, chairperson of the personnel committee of the school governing body. And when I was in the personnel committee, and I've advocated all the time for black teachers, what do you call it, educators, to be appointed. And in my time, there was at least, well, there was one appointed in the primary school and one in the secondary school. And those were the first appointments that were made. And I want to say that I feel honored that I was part of that process. So, and that was also in a leadership position that I had to steer the personnel committee through those times.
Thank you. I've got a serious difficulty with what I've heard from you, because it tells me or it confirms the tendency of men who believe that women can be leaders only in their absence. They cannot lead when they are there. You said
that females cannot lead unless it's in the absence of men.
Yes, I'm saying this tendency, and I think you are also feeding to that, because you said Judge Mbele can make, and you are sure will be a JP of the division, and you will don't understand that she should be brought over you to be a DJP, but you are not ready to be, or you are not availing yourself to be a JP, and it will only be in your absence when you have left the judiciary that Judge Mbele can become maybe a DJP and then a JP. Am I wrong to say you are feeding to that wrong perception that women leaders will be best leaders only when men leaders are not there?
No, well, that's totally wrong. I've never tried to say that. This is that Judge Molamela was my JP, and she was a fantastic JP. And she's much younger than me. And you can ask her anytime is that I gave my everything to her, and I walked the extra mile for her as well. I have no problem to accept a female leader. And I say again, she was exceptional. She was there for a short time, yes, but she was a good leader, really a good leader. And I've got no, and she's much younger than me. All that I say is in respect of my colleagues, and again, remember, I don't want to say this colleague or that colleague. I think I like them, they're fantastic colleagues. All that I say is Judge Mbele is here for 5 years. She's still young. Most of the people there are older than what she is, although some of them are not there for shorter periods perhaps, but they're older. And I just think out of a seniority perspective, that her time will come. That's all that I say. There's no way that I can say that a woman cannot lead. Of course women lead.
Follow up, CJ, and this will be the last one.
It looks like there's a follow-up trend, but go ahead, sir. It is okay.
Thank you, CJ. will there be any harm if we may ask you to consider, because there are two female judges who are competing with you on this position, and you have no problem with female leading, and you have considered that one of them is a fantastic leader. Okay, will you see any harm if you may give space for them to be DJPs when they are preparing to take over from the JP when he leaves?
Can I just say that if I say that Judge Mbele is a fantastic leader, don't take me wrong. I think Judge Naidoo is also a good leader. I mean, no doubt, she's my friend. She's the same age as what I am. She's been involved in many leadership positions. So I'm not trying to say this one is better than the other one is for the commission. But the point that you're raising is, and that's what I've discussed with my JP, is must I make myself available? I have made myself available. I can't see that I can withdraw at this stage. Otherwise, I would have come in this morning and say, well, all the white males have been clobbered from left, right, and center. As I've heard, I haven't seen the things. And therefore, you should not be here. You should not be here. End of story. But I'm here, and it's for the commission to decide.
Thank you, CJ. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you, Commissioner Sigogo. JP Mlambo.
Thank you, Chief Justice. I think Commissioner Nyambi covered the first question I wanted to ask, so I won't ask it. Judge Daffue, what do you consider to be the challenges facing the judiciary? And I don't want a long story. And what do you think, as an aspirant leader in the judiciary, could be done to tackle those challenges?
I think I'm just going to deal with two things. The first is what I said to the LPC already in 2018, long before COVID. We've got to, and I've laughed about this, we've got to go to a paperless society. We've got to deal with that. All other people, engineers, auditors, whatever, deal with it that way. We've got to deal with it that way. And there will be problems, but we can sort it out. I've seen it myself with unrepresented people arguing matters before me on WebEx, where I've made arrangements with the Bar Council that they go there and deal with the thing. The second thing is obviously, and it's a worldwide thing, and that is with the internet, with Instagram and all these social media platforms. Anybody can, any time of the night, decide, well, I'm not happy with this judgment, and I can try and say whatever I want about that judgment. We'll have to have a situation where the leadership of the judiciary speak on behalf of the judges and make sure that these aspects be dealt with. And unfortunately, it is so that we need the help of the executive, because they are an arm of the state.
So you say the leadership needs to speak for the judiciary.
We've got to,
what else should be done?
And well, and then obviously we must not open our flanks for unnecessary criticism. And the way that you do that is to write a proper reasoned judgment and make sure that your colleagues and everybody do that, and just not delay matters and postpone matters for whatever reason, or give judgments without reasons. So it's again a question of us and in all the divisions to make sure that skills are transferred on a regular basis.
Thank you very much, Chief Justice.
Thank you, JP. President Maya.
Thank you, CJ. Good morning, Judge Daffue.
Good morning, President.
First, I just want to note that you're a long-standing member of the South African chapter of the International Association of Women Judges, and one of the very few male judges in our judiciary to openly support the women in the judiciary. And you are also involved in charity organizations that look after vulnerable children. Thank you for supporting the women and children of South Africa.
Thank you.
And that is why I'm surprised that you applied for this position. That's the other side of the coin now. The Free State High Court has a male judge president. Don't you think it would serve the transformation imperative to have a woman deputy if there's a suitable candidate? And having asked that, won't you consider withdrawing from this race so that this commission can look at we have two women candidates, not just one, two, so we would not be at a disadvantage at all. There still is a choice.
Yeah. Well, President, as I've said, I've given it a lot of thought. My JP knows that, and I've mentioned it here this morning also. I understand what the situation in our country is. I just feel at this stage that to withdraw my candidacy, it's for the Commission to make a decision, and I'll abide by that. I just want to say, there are many people, and let me be blunt, there are many women also that give less for their women folk, their friends, than men. There are many white people that care more for their employees, black employees or their black colleagues than black people. Once they've got positions, they think about themselves. I'm not one of those people. My track record and with my employees and with my colleagues speak for itself. Is although I am seen to be white, I'm probably not that light. If I'm seen to that, and I'm a male, I can't change that. My feeling towards our community, our old people, our women, our children, the vulnerable people. I've written judgments on this numerous times about my feelings pertaining to that, and when I sentence people, for example, and I feel that, notwithstanding the fact that I would be a second male on the leadership of the Free State, that I could play a vital role in that capacity to ensure that the plight of women specifically in the legal sphere, that is being dealt with properly.
All right, the last issue concerns your comments about Judge Mbele's candidacy, and I've been partly covered by Commissioner Sigogo's response there too. I do appreciate your honesty. Now, I just want to find, well, first, let me just point out to you that if age was a hurdle in these things, Judge Molemela and I would not have ascended to leadership positions in this judiciary, because Judge Molemela, I believe, was the youngest in your division, but she had what it took. She had the necessary skills and experience, and so did I, but I was one of the very youngest judges at the SCA, but I'd served the longest, and I want to believe that, as this commission found, that I had the capacity to do the job at hand. So I don't think age should be a hurdle at all. Now, you say she's young, she's just started there. Have you considered that, I mean, she didn't just come out of thin air. She has a CV outside the judiciary, in the judiciary, outside the Free State High Court. Are we not at large to consider, the skills, the experience that she brings from those other undertakings that she's been through?
No,
Why must we confine ourselves to the fact that she just started at your court in 2016?
Yeah, no, thank you. Excuse me for interrupting, President. No, well, that is so. The same applies to all three of us, as we had a long stint of experience in various areas of the law. And again, I'm not here to to say she should not be appointed. I say I should be appointed, although I accept that she has got leadership capabilities. And I know that I'm talking of Judge Leona Tron also, that went to the Constitutional Court, a young lady that I think she was appointed at the age of 32, although she didn't have act in a leadership capacity, but she's in the highest court of the country, and she's doing well there, fantastically well. So it's not about age all the time. All that I say is, if you look at a bunch of people and you look at a team, for example, whether it's a rugby or a soccer team or cricket team or a judicial team, then it's, in my view, can cause problems if you take the most junior, she's not the most junior, but if you take a junior person and make him or her the captain of the team. It happens, it works from time to time, but I think all of them will tell you, all these leaders will tell you is that they did find it hard to overcome the problems with senior people, whether in a soccer team or in a rugby team or at a judiciary level. So that's all that I want to say about that.
Thank you. Well, lastly, and I don't want to create misapprehension here. I'm not punting for Judge Mbele, but I just want to find out, if she does end up being appointed, will you personally support her and also ensure that the other senior members in that court also support her?
President, I'm a loyal person. My whole life, I'm loyal to my people, to my colleagues, to my friends, to my leaders. You do not have to have any doubt about my loyalty towards my JP here, or any of my colleagues, and whoever is appointed as a Deputy Judge President.
All right. Well, we have noted your interest in the SCA, Judge Daffue. Thank you, Judge Daffue. Thank you, CJ.
Can I just say that, because you've raised that now. There's a reason why I applied therefore, because of the fact that I haven't acted there, but there were 5 positions available, and I really felt that I think I could make a contribution. I've got a lot of extra aspects that I can bring, which I feel in the High Court there's not scope. For example, income tax law, competition law, that kind of thing, and corporate law. I thought that, with my background and a bit of experience, I might have been a suitable candidate. I was not shortlisted, so that's the end of that story.
Again, noted, Judge Daffue. Thank you. Thank you, CJ.
Thank you, President. Thank you very much, Judge Daffue. Your excuse, sir.
Thank you, CJ. And my I say to you is Oweba Hantle plus Singh, Samaya Hantle. The previous time when I saw you, I congratulated you on your appointment, but now you're going to farm with your Dikhomo. I hope all is well for the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.